I was switched on to the Darios quite early on, and I never broke them. It just always sounded dead good. There was a consistency. If you open a pack of Darios, you knew exactly what you'd be getting. You wouldn't find anything perished or anything rusty.
As a result, this is where it got intense. This is beautiful. Mike Dungan, who was running Capitol Records at that time, before he took over all of Universal, they had had a Keith Urban record, and it had some success, but it wasn't as guitar-oriented as he thought it would be. He wanted to get Keith and I together, and Keith didn't want to have anything to do with it because he hated the records. He'd heard records I produced, and he didn't like them.
Really?
Yeah, and the funny thing about Keith is,
was he into Giant? Was he?
No, he wouldn't have been in a Giant. No, I mean just the country records, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe I may be voicing it a little bit hard, and because Keith is probably one of the most kind artists, cheerleaders. But let's just say this:
yeah, he's amazing.
It wasn't his kind of music.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So he basically tried me out, and he set up a whole scenario to try me out on one song to see if it worked, and it worked. It was a song called "Somebody Like You."
Yeah.
He said you could choose the song. He said, I'm going to choose the band, the studio, and the engineer. You just come in. And they had been tracking for several days. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I took my matchless and my Gretsch.
Yeah, really.
And the song I thought was great. I mean, I chose this. I mean, Decent Instincts about a song. It was a great song.
Great song.
And we got in there, and it was like one of those things where it dropped from the sky. It was everything was right. Again, one of those moments you have to be prepared for, but it's providence. I mean, it's just there's luck. There's all this stuff. So you never. The end of that story is that you never take your successes too much, and you don't take your failures too hard.
Right.
Because there's more than you, right? You're a big part of it. So that started a relationship with him that I have to this day. I don't even know how much I can express my gratitude to Keith, because I learned with him growing up through the industry. And he and I were like, what is it, oil and water?
Wow.
I mean, because Keith was...
That is a huge surprise.
Oh man, it was never a struggle, but there was intensity about our recordings, because he was a country artist, but he had this ridiculous punk rock ethic.
That's the Australian side.
That's it. Yeah, it's AC/DC, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I had this, I had this whole pedigree of pop music, and then Mutt Lange was, second to God Almighty, as far as perfection, all that stuff. And music for me was this orchestration. And so you put these two guys together, and you got a confrontation.
Yeah, but what a perfect combination. Like, okay, look at something like you, how, like, even the solo. I think Keith's playing before. I mean, he's such an incredible guitar player. He can do everything.
Yeah.
What I love about that song is the solo is so like melodic. That da 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 da. Nothing really difficult, but like it sets it all up, and it repeats that motif, and it builds from there. And I think that was part of your influence, like to kind of to give it a little less blowing and a little more of a. Like a
composition.
Yeah, composition.
Well, that was. I mean, yeah, he got really angry. That's a great story. He got so pissed off at me.
Really? Okay.
Oh man. God.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Because I could hear like his band. What was it? The four-wheel drive. The band that he was doing kind of before he got.
No, it was another name though.
It was, oh yeah.
What was it called?
It was Keith Urban Four-Wheel Drive, and then the Ranch.
The Ranch.
The Ranch.
Yeah.
But there was more blowing.
Oh, well, I mean,
which is exciting, but when you like that.
Well, my thing was that Keith is such a physical guitar player,
right?
And up to that point, I was more auditory, right?
Yeah,
I mean, and again, that's what helped us both. I mean, it's that tension between us, him pulling this way, me pulling this way, and we found a new middle, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, on that particular solo, I just had him play. I kept, because like when I hear guitar playing, every note to me is like this its own universe.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
that may be a little bit dramatic, but
Well, the way I see it is the way you play and kind of orchestrate. Everything has intention.
Yeah.
You know, every note. It doesn't seem like you're just leaving it up, like your fingers just stumble somewhere.
Right.
It seems like it's.
And you could the critique of that sometime would be is that you take maybe some of the danger, the spontaneity away from it. So that would be my weakness. What I would say is his weakness, it would have been in his weakness at that point, would be possibly settling for something that doesn't sting as hard as it can sting. So I was very patient at that point, just in where I was at my age. Yeah. I'd wait out a guitar solo for a day long. And just, you know, we were on Pro Tools by that point, so you could capture all this stuff and then put it together later, you know. Yeah. But I'm listening for those moments.
Yeah.
I'm just listening. You can play this. You know this. You can play the same 5 notes, and you can play it 100 times, and it sounds different, right?
Every time.
And I'm waiting for for stars to align where that sound of that note against the backbeat there, the bass, the tone of the guitar, all the above,
right.
The way the delay hits, all these things. So I'm waiting this out, and he's just, he wouldn't mind me sharing this. He's in the studio. He's got a strap on. And we have it filmed, by the way.
Oh, really?
He filmed it. Yes, so cool. So this is not like, you know, and he finally just got so pissed off because I said, let's do another one. And I'm sitting there enjoying the hell out of his guitar playing and him. And I was so not reading the room. And he was getting angrier by the take. He had like, and basically, because he said he said, "Crikey, what the fuck do you want?" or something like that, which is, crikey got me. I never heard crikey before. And
he went Crocodile Dundee on you.
Totally. Yeah, he did that. And by this point, he had his shirt off and he's sweating. I mean, it's just so Keith Urban.
That's great.
And I was like, if you're done, you're done. I mean, I think we might have it. You know. Yeah. So that's so endearing to me, that story. Obviously, you know, there was no damage from that, but that I would say was the strength,
right,
of both of our individualities, and so as a result, we made 6 records back to back to back.
Yeah, huge records.
And they were, you know, it's like in you know, learning about expectation. There's a lot of stuff that goes into all this stuff, but we spend more time talking. That was always our Achilles heel, because we would get in the studio and we just talk about life and stuff like that. Yeah. But again, you can't, life and music, it's all the same thing, or should be the same thing.
Yeah.
And so we grew. He one of the greatest. This everything pertains through my lens of guitar playing, right? So
sure.
When I talk about this, but
that's what our demographic.
Okay, well,
yeah, we speak this language.
Okay,
yeah.
well, here's another. I would say this is a seminal thing that I learned from Keith that is stuck with me for 2 decades now. One time I was fastidious about everything, right? So the good part of my ability was that everything was put under that lens of trying to find the best extraction of feel, rhythm, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because you're making a recording. It's not a live show. Yeah. It's a painting, and it's going to last, and so you want this, you know, you get the idea.
Yeah.
And I had worked on a comp, which is, if your listeners don't know what that is, you know, let's say 5-6 vocal passes, and then I would go through each one meticulously and find the best of the best, right?
Right.
Some people would call that cheating. To me, if you're painting, making a piece of art, you can't do that live, right? So, right. But when you're taking the time to record something and represent it, you want to do it the best you can, right?
Yeah.
So, and all of his stuff was very intuitive, and he sang great. But I was finding the best of the best. I gave him, you know, and what he would do, he'd come and sing, and he'd leave because he wouldn't want to sit through that, you know.
Yeah.
And he came back and heard a comp, and I thought he sounded freaking just great. and he goes, and again. The beautiful thing about Keith, he's incredibly articulate. And he's incredibly articulate. But when it comes to his music, that's sacred, right?
Sure.
So
yeah.
And we're close enough where, you know, it's not, we could dispense with the formalities. the comp made him angry to a degree. I mean, he wasn't violent. He wasn't throwing things.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I said, you don't like it? You sound great. He said, you're making me sound too good. Wow. And at first, so anyway, so you can sit there and I'm hired by him, so I'm trying to please him and make his music sound great. Yeah. So a little disconcerting at first. And I was like, what? It's like, really? You're accusing me of making, that all of a sudden it was about me, right? You can see where this is going. You're accusing me? Then all of a sudden, we talked and he probably explained it more and we ended up getting it right, whatever. But he said, I want my music, he said, and he used this description. I thought it was a great metaphor. I think this is what I remember. I mean, he may say I didn't say that, but sure. This is what I remember, and this is what's affected me to this day, to this record that I even did, right?
Yeah.
He said, he used a metaphor of like a train, going down a track. He said, I want it to feel like this thing it may derail at any time, because that's the performer in him, right?
Right.
He wants you to feel like you're white knuckling it. You're on a roller coaster ride. You don't want it to derail, but you want to feel that anticipation, that kind of just, and boy, that stuck with me like, it's still to this day.
Yeah.
So those things, you find those moments in your, we talked a little bit about Gordon and I playing and hashing out things. These moments in my life have stuck with me, and they're like seared into my musical memory, and yeah. So for him, I'm so thankful of those times. As a matter of fact, we're still even working together next week.
Oh,
great. I mean, he doesn't hire me on everything he does now. We've done so many records together, but that period of time, early 2000s, was I mean, and I'm not discounting all the other artists that I produced, because there were a lot of other artists. Yeah. But that affected me. Yeah.
Yeah.